You can't just put an FEC attached to your cinema and the world's going to be fixed, right? Your economics and your business is going to be off and running in another direction. You have to stay competitive with what's coming a mile, 2 miles down the road.
This is the Box Office Podcast. I'm Daniel Loria, the editorial director of Box Office Pro, the pulse of theatrical exhibition. Here today with my colleagues and co-hosts, Pahle and Chad Kennerk from Box Office Pro. And in this week's episode, we will be talking with Matt and Amy Motter, the organizers of the Dine-In Cinema Summit, which will be taking place in Austin, Texas from February 3rd through 7th. One of my favorite events of the year. Anyone that wants to register, registrations are still available, which is why we're doing this preview episode on the earlier side. You can register over at dineincinemasummit.com. Great event happening in Austin, Texas. I'll be there. I'm taking the whole family down, so I'm really looking forward to it. But before we get into that conversation, let's start the way we usually do, guys. Rebecca, Chad, another weekend of slow box office in January. We'll be going into those details shortly, but at least one of us here went to the movies over the weekend. Rebecca, you made it out?
Yeah, I made it out to the Museum of the Moving Image up in Queens. They have 2 theaters there. So they're doing this series on snowy movies, which makes me really want to go to Austin because it's been cold and just horrible here. But no, it's Runaway Train with Jon Voight and Eric Roberts. Its reputation, Daniel, and I know you know, is like the one good Cannon Films movie. It's from '86, like Jon Voight and Eric Roberts just chewing scenery right like back at each other. They both got Oscar nominations for it. It had some moments of like just real insanity that it was nice to be seeing it with other people. They put money into this one. Like they filmed it up in Alaska. They have like an actual train situation. There's a guy dangling down from a rope ladder from a helicopter, like trying to drop on to the moving train. And like you could tell they actually put a stuntman through that stuff. That was not obviously CGI in '86. But yeah, definitely a fascinating studio. I'm glad that I was able to get out to see something, even if it was rep, because there was not a ton to see new over the weekend for sure.
And this is of the Museum of Moving Images snow movies series. Chad, do you have a favorite snow movie that you can think of?
It's a hard watch, but Society of the Snow is really good. Jay Bayona film. I wish it got into more theaters. It had a limited theatrical release, but
that was a Netflix release. Yeah, it's a Netflix title. But no, yeah, that came out a couple of years back. I know that's very well regarded.
Oh, is that the soccer team that crashed in the Andes?
Yes.
Oh, is that a rugby team? I forget if it was rugby or soccer, but
I think it was rugby.
It's a survivalist drama based on a book. Yeah, that's been on my I'll watch it eventually. I feel terrible for saying this, but like Netflix movies, if they're not a theatrical event, it's on my I'll catch it when I catch it list.
Chad, did you see it in theaters? Or?
I wish I had an opportunity to. It was nowhere near me.
It seems like a very like intense watch. I would get distracted. 144 minutes. My God.
Yeah. You know what Runaway Train makes me think of though is Horror Express. Have you seen that, Rebecca? That has a very wintry setting as well.
Oh, is that a Muck Train 3? Oh,
it's an old school like Yeti monster on a train.
What? All right, I have to. What is it? What is that called again? Horror Express?
Horror Express,
which is a great title. I can see the poster now for Horror Express. You're telling me there's a Yeti inside a train. So it's a monster movie, a snow movie, and a train movie. 3 in 1.
A Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, and Teddy Savalas.
Yeah.
I'm popping that. I'm going right to Letterboxd to put that on my to watch list as we speak.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go revisionist Western, guys. 1971, Robert Altman, McCabe and Mrs. Miller. One of my favorite, maybe my favorite Western, but like in the sense that the West at this point is so spent that you're in a corner of the Pacific Northwest, and it's a sort of like droopy-faced Warren Beatty against capitalism. It's
so desolate out there in the movie. I mean, I caught that at Film Forum a few years back, and it looks amazing.
It's a wonderful movie about going and manifesting destiny by opening a brothel in a railroad town in the Pacific Northwest in the death of winter, and then just smoking opium until assassins kill you. Love that movie. It's a little bit less upbeat than I just made it sound, but in the world of revisionist westerns, man, there was no one better than Altman. I love Altman.
We got plane crashes, we got runaway trains, we got horses and wagons.
Overlapping dialogue.
Yep.
Yeah, everything you could ask for. And we're talking about other movies because, frankly, this weekend really didn't give us anything to talk about. We expected a slow start to the year in new releases. We expected the box office to be dominated by the holdovers from last year. We did have one overperformance that is noteworthy to mention. Den of Thieves 2 opening to $15 million, overperforming most expectations, though that is on the high end of what we forecasted this title on its opening weekend. Lionsgate with a solid overperformer. I think they have another one brewing, guys. I'm hearing great things from our forecasting panel. A shout out to Joe Gorell, who is in our panel. He's a film booker, mentioning, you know what, you guys should be budging up the forecasting for Flight Risk
for Bald Mark Wahlberg. That's interesting.
It might be worth the ticket price alone, right? That's coming up in a couple of weeks. So you can expect Lionsgate, I think, to have a big recovery year this year. Maybe not to the same extent that they had in the 20-teens.
But they clearly cleared out the slate last year in preparation for 2025 to be. I mean, they had their Michael Jackson biopic, I think, is kind of what everything is leading towards in terms of their big bet. But they have some other interesting things on the schedule in 2025 as well.
Yeah, it was a good move to have, because Michael, which is the Michael Jackson biopic that Rebecca mentions, that was originally slated to come out in April. Now there's a gap in April that it's moved down to October, but I think it's a good call for Lionsgate. Gives them a little bit of a runway to get some other titles out there and gives them a focus for the first weekend in June when their John Wick spinoff, Ballerina, comes out. It's going to be really compelling. I'm really curious to see how Lionsgate bounces back in 2025. This weekend, however, really not much of anything is going to make an impact. We've got Universal's Wolfman currently tracking to open between $15 and $20 million. So a little bit below what we had originally forecasted when we started tracking this title. I think we started with a $20 to $25 million range. It's been ticking down. So in the high teens is where we expect Wolfman to open. Counter-programming that, we've got the comedy One of Them Days coming out from Sony. We're expecting that to open between $4 and $6 million. So yeah, not a great breakthrough January here at the box office, but we knew that coming into it. But what we do have to look forward to is National Popcorn Day. That is coming out on January 19th. And we've got more updates here from circuits participating in this campaign from the At the Movies initiative by the Cinema Foundation. Chad, what are some of the updates we have from the major chains?
Yeah, AMC Theaters is doing an all-you-can-eat deal throughout National Popcorn Day. So with the purchase of any size popcorn, you can get an all-you-can-eat unlimited refill on that. And then they're also offering 50% off their limited edition AMC Theaters Popcorn Loungefly bag. So you can put your popcorn right in that.
I like their Loungefly collabs. I think their Barbie one was the shape of the roller skate.
Oh, yeah.
They have some good merch that they put out together.
Over at Cineplex, they're also doing from January 17th through the 19th, Scene Plus members who purchase a ticket to a movie will enjoy a free bag of popcorn. If you can't make it to the theaters, they're also doing a bonus bag of popcorn for all DoorDash, Skip, and Uber Eats food orders that weekend. And at Marcus and Movie Taverns on National Popcorn Day, the Magical Movie Rewards loyalty program members can receive a free junior popcorn or a free Ultimate Popcorn Tub refill or 50% off the 2025 Ultimate Popcorn Tub.
I'm definitely trying to plan what I'm going to see because it's tough to throw a popcorn discount at me and not expect me to take advantage of it.
Yeah, and there's even more out there. Showcase Cinemas is offering free popcorn to their reward members on National Popcorn Day. And Imagine Theaters is doing the same, offering a free small popcorn to their reward members.
So that is coming up this Sunday at these chains and I think even independent theaters. all have special initiatives for this National Popcorn Day. So don't forget to check if there are any specials at your local theater. And now for a little bit of real news, we usually just cover the theatrical market here, but we do have to mention the unfolding situation in Los Angeles and Southern California with the spread of these wildfires. A lot of colleagues that we know are currently embroiled in this situation, affected. There's a housing crisis, even without the fires in Los Angeles, obviously being complicated more by the news unfolding as we speak. Rebecca, we just heard that the ICTA convention that was going to be happening in LA this week was moved to all virtual. And right now, the Will Rogers Foundation, which is usually a place where everyone working in this industry can go and find aid, they are actually ramping up efforts to address some of the needs stemming from this crisis.
Yeah, absolutely, Daniel. This is something that, as you mentioned, Will Rogers for 80 plus years has really been dedicated to supporting people who work in the theatrical exhibition industry. This is right in their backyard. The Will Rogers Ranch has unfortunately been victim to the fires, as you mentioned, a lot of people in the industry who work and live in Los Angeles. When the hurricane struck across southeastern United States, something that affected a lot of theaters, a lot of obviously families and people in general throughout like Florida and the Appalachians. Will Rogers has rolled out a national disaster assistance plan where typically if you are someone who wants to apply for a relief grant, if, for example, you're having trouble with rent or groceries, or you've fallen on hard times, help is available to you if you've been working in the theatrical exhibition or distribution industries for 3 years. For this national disaster grant, that 3-year employee eligibility requirement is waived. So if you're someone who has worked in theatrical exhibition or distribution for any amount of time, I mean, that can be working for a vendor, that can be tearing tickets, you can be boots on the ground level at the theater all the way up to corporate. They really are open to everyone who needs assistance because they have been displaced or evacuated by the wildfires, or if they have suffered damage to your permanent residence. So wrpioneers.org/natural disaster is where you can go if you're interested in seeing the help that Will Rogers is providing to those in our community. If you need a grant from them, and if anyone who is able to donate, even $5 or $10, every little bit adds up, so that Will Rogers can continue their mission of giving a hand up to people in this industry who have fallen on difficult times.
Thanks, Rebecca. I know that is always a very important lifeline for lots of folks in this industry, the aid that the Will Rogers Motion Pictures Pioneers Foundation provides to all members of the cinema industry. And now moving on to our feature segment. After the break, we've got my conversation with the Dine-In Cinema Summit's Matt and Amy Motter. The Dine-In Cinema Summit, now rebranded as the Dine-In and FEC Summit, taking place in Austin, Texas from February 3 to 7. That is coming up after the break. And we are back here on the Box Office Podcast with this week's feature segment, talking to Matt and Amy Motter, the organizers of the Dine-In Cinema Summit, this year known as the Dine-In and FEC Cinema Summit. Guys, welcome back. And I'm going to start with an easy softball for both of you. What does FEC stand for?
FEC is for Family Entertainment Centers. And we have found over the years that theaters are starting to segue more into offering more attractions at their venues. Some theaters want to be called Cinema Entertainment Centers. So CEC.
That's the one we use. So I still don't know which one to use. Do I go for CEC or the FEC?
I think it depends who you talk to. We say FEC because the group of professionals that have come in to help us out with that portion of it, they say FEC. So we're, leaning a little bit more towards that, but FEC or CEC just means somebody that is doing a little bit more than just showing movies.
And that's been such a big trend here in theatrical exhibition, really over the last 3 to 5 years. And the Dine-In Cinema Summit, now, is this the 6th edition, 7th edition?
It is our 7th year. that we're starting.
Wow.
We've had 6 under our belt so far. It seems like yesterday that we first started. But yes, we are having our 7th one in Austin beginning February 3rd.
Beginning February 3rd, the event happening from February 3rd through 7th in Austin, Texas. A number of sites, a number of locations. We'll be going over that agenda soon. But I did want to lead with that FEC portion of the conversation, because this is an event that started, like you said, Amy, 7 years ago, responding to the needs of the dine-in community. Because I remember the anecdote you've told me that you guys, through your company, Venue Valet, which provides services to a lot of dine-in operators out there, you guys would be at CinemaCon and you'd get very similar operation-heavy questions that you'd say, you know what, maybe I don't have the answer to it, but my other client might. Eventually, you figured out this is going to be a lot easier if we get everybody in a room to just talk through some of these issues. Now, as the dine-in sector has grown and expanded, it's also evolving to bring in these FEC, these family entertainment center components, where you get things like pickleball, like bowling, entire restaurants, full-service bars. Really, the entire dine-in sector has gone through a complete transformation. If you look at where things are in the last 7 years, let's start with a little bit more focus on this FEC thing before we go into the agenda for this year's event. Because I'm curious, when did you notice that the family entertainment center concept was really taking off? Is there a before and after here?
I get alerted through different news feeds when there's press releases in the FEC space, right? Not the cinema entertainment center space, just FECs, right? So it could be just a pickleball family entertainment center opening up in Idaho. It could be a main event opening up in Albuquerque, right? So I'll tell you that it's really gone crazy the last 2 years, where I get alerted nonstop that there's an entertainment center, family entertainment center, that's gotten approval from the city to take over an abandoned big box, a JCPenney's in some city. No cinema involved in that comment I just made, right? So the family entertainment center business has gone crazy, especially the last couple of years. And I think what's attributing to that are a lot of real estate developers or people that, are landlords, right, that have square footage that they need to rent. And why cinema is somewhat attached to it is that, cinemas, I think now more so than ever, have decided, at least some of them, they're like, we have to diversify a little bit, or try to at least, right? And the landlords are making it attractive to not just open up a cinema, right? And trying to say, we'll help fund this exercise, a remodel, if you will, of an old cinema that someone had to give up, right? And we'll convert 3 theaters, 3 screens in there to bowling and pickleball and laser tag and a video arcade with you, because people don't need 18 screens. The cinema owners don't need 15, 18, 20 screens anymore, right? We even have customers that have been given the opportunity to take over space in like a mall type environment that's adjacent or even across the parking lot from their cinema and turn it into an FEC, right? That's connected to the cinema in some form or fashion, because the landlords are trying to be as creative as possible with getting that space filled up. And we've also been told that it's still not easy to get funding from a bank if you're just going to do a cinema. The banks are not very cooperative and friendly there with good rates and terms and whatever. But if you focus on an FEC element as part of your cinema, right, there's better luck in getting dollars to go fund your activity, just because the entertainment center part, the family entertainment center, is extremely popular now, like it's coast to coast. I mean, it is, there's many different opportunities and many brands out there that are quickly expanding. The key is going to be, how do you compete, right? Because we're going to be seeing family entertainment centers opening up, 3 blocks from another family entertainment center. And now you got to diversify. You got to have a cleaner facility. You got to have better food. You got to have more attractions, right? So it's a whole nother competitive landscape that is quickly spreading. And I think that's part of the reason why cinemas haven't adopted so quickly is because of that, right? It's because they're realizing it's going to be competitive. You can't just put an FEC attached to your cinema and the world's going to be fixed, right? Your economics and your business is going to be off and running in another direction. You have to stay competitive with what's coming a mile, 2 miles down the road.
Yeah, the operation side of this is really complicated, very intricate. I remember interviewing Jeff and Jamie Benson, the founders of Synergy Entertainment, a pioneer in this space. And that's the one thing they told me. Listen, getting the space is one thing, filling it out, updating it with new games, making sure that the games are up to date and not broken. That's the first part of the headache. The second part of the headache is going to be just staffing it, just making sure that you have the right amount of people in the right times. You don't want to overstaff because you could lose a lot of money if you have too much staff there at the wrong time of day. But it's getting to the point now, as you mentioned, Matt, where all of these other factors seem to be lining up perfectly. You mentioned it a second ago, the decline of big box department stores or chain stores that you would see as anchor tenants at malls. That's created a big opportunity with very big square footage space for concepts to come in and adopt this. Now, it has to be said, this isn't the concept, and I always say this when we talk about family entertainment centers, especially pairing that with cinemas, is that it's not going to be a major city play. You're not going to see one of these things open in downtown Chicago, for example. And you never really had big box retail stores in downtown Chicago, right? Or in the Upper West Side in New York. These are places where the real estate equation just doesn't make sense. But in so many parts of the country, there are retail opportunities there with the real estate. And people need that foot traffic. Cinemas offer half that equation. The other half, as you mentioned, is having something more to do. The other thing that I'm hearing a lot from exhibitors is what you just mentioned in part of the funding, in getting cash, getting access to credit lines. Exhibitors are really struggling with that, in my opinion, a lot more than they should be in the post-pandemic era. So this has really become a recourse or a resource for some operators to be able to do new builds or to do an exciting renovation. And it's such an interesting concept. And I love to see how you're integrating it to the event. It's going to be starting on February 3rd here in Austin, Texas. Let's go to that opening day here as we go through the agenda. Amy, it's the opening night party, as we're used to seeing. What's it going to kick off with?
Whenever we do the summit, we rent out entire restaurants so that guests can have the ability to network and they're not distracted by anybody else. So the first night we're going to be at the Grove Wine Bar, and it will be dinner, beverages, 6:30 to 9:30. And this is where everybody comes to, just say hi. Like they come visit, they get their swag bag, and that's what they do. It's not some people stay 6:30 to 9:30. Some people are flying in. They come from the airport. They check into their hotel and they come for just a little bit. But that's really what our first event is let's get ready to go. And everybody gets so excited. I love the energy of the first night just because we've been working on this for 11 months. So for us, it's like once that starts, it's like, here we go. We're ready to have a great week with all of these people.
And the official sessions, the conversations that we've all come to really appreciate from this event, because what I love about this event is it's not monologues. You get to hear questions, sometimes coming out spur of the moment from the audience. It's a very involved and engaged crowd. This starts on Tuesday, February 4th. The first day's events are going to be starting at the Flicks Brewhouse location in Round Rock, Texas. My first time going to that one. I've been to their one is it suburban Dallas? I think I've been to that one.
Yes.
So it's going to be my first one in the Austin area. Let's talk about some of those events and conversations that you're having, because the programming here is very educational.
Well, first, we always welcome everybody, and we tell everybody what I say the rules are. Matt and I kind of go through. It's important to us that everybody understands that the point of this is that everybody has forced family time, is about how we're going to describe it, where they're getting to know what we expect of them, and they tell us what they're going to expect to get from it. But it's important for people to know how we really develop these educational programs is from people that came to the summit, and throughout the year, they're like, I want to hear more about this, or I saw this person. I think this would be a great addition to it, because we truly do listen to what our attendees say and then we spend time hunting everybody down. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we, like Amy said, every year that we've done this or advanced every year, the role that we play sitting here in our office trying to put this thing together is a little different than it was the first year. The first year was a very small group but it set the tone to where, like you said, Daniel, it's very much a conversation around certain topics that we pick, and not just educational, but in terms of spirit, but more dialogue back and forth, challenging each other. And this year, John Lakefish, who we were introduced to by Art Sego, who's been in the industry a long time, he saw John speak and walked away from his presentation with a very different perspective on AI and how AI can be used to effectively to change your business. And people that weren't as dialed into what AI was walked away with a very different understanding than any other presentation they had ever seen before. So we are going to hopefully make a huge impact in our audience, because if you've been to any show, cinema related show, the last couple of years, there's always an AI session. It always comes across in a way where very educational, a lot of information, but I think there's pieces there that are still missing from how you present it. And we're hoping John kicks our show off with 90 minutes that will be very well received, and people will walk away with a very different perspective than they ever had from watching an AI type presentation. And we introduced John to 3 or 4 industry people, like cinema operators, FEC and cinema operators. And so he's worked with them the last couple months to build out his information that he's going to share with everybody. So that's another unique thing that he does, is he doesn't just come up there and lecture. And he's not a cinema guy. He's an AI guy, right? So, but he's very good at adapting his knowledge to certain markets. And so we introduced him to some really good people that shared some good information about their business and what their struggles are. And now he is going to tell everybody how AI can help this industry, specifically with some challenges that are not made up. They're very real.
Yeah, it's going to be one of the biggest talking points in this industry for the coming years. How do I integrate AI into my circuit? How does it make sense? It's something where you really have to be well advised. I think it's going to be easy to fall for a couple of traps in there. We've all heard examples of this. It's a trend, and the better we understand the trend, the better we'll understand what we need to take from it. And I think this is going to be a great opening session for folks to learn a little bit more into that world. There are a couple of more operational focused sessions on that first day. What else do we have to look forward to?
I mean, we have Michael Giacinto with Procter Companies is putting up a panel that he's going to be discussing what do you have in your kitchen and how to effectively use everything in your kitchen. And he has a chef on his panel. He has some of the manufacturers of the equipment that goes in a kitchen, something different that we're doing this year. The company DFX is going to be doing our audiovisual, and we're going to be running concurrent programs in 2 different theaters. So if somebody looks at one particular presentation and they're like, ooh, that might not be applicable to me, then I'm going to go over to the next theater. I truly believe you can learn something from everybody, but that has now expanded our agenda into double than of everything that it was, to adding a lot more complex details by having double the amount of speakers. But we feel that that was a change that we were ready to make in our 7th year.
And it's hard because you have to make that decision. Do you give everyone center stage and extend it for a couple more days, a couple more hours? Matt, Amy, you guys have been on the convention circuit with me for all these years. It's exhausting sometimes. Sometimes, after day 3, I think we've all had our fill, and there's a lot of little spots where you're like, you know what? This conversation about xenon light bulbs might not be for me. But you peek into that room and it's full of people. So you have to make sure what makes sense for everybody once you're planning these things out. Now, Procter is an interesting sponsor here. They also have the cover of the magazine that we're sending to the magazine. They do a lot of design, a lot of work in the theater spaces themselves. And I think that's going to be great for folks to see how that dine-in area can look like and how they can be more welcoming spaces. Matt, you said it a second ago with the FECs. You can't just put an FEC in the corner and expect the people to start bowling, right? You really have to make sure that they're integrated into the space itself.
Yep, absolutely. And it's amazing with the theaters that we do business with through Venue Valet. We get to see, and this is why, like you said at the beginning, why we started this show was because of what we do for our customers put us in a unique spot. We're working with our customers as they're building out their location, sometimes even as they're designing the location. And then after they open, our system is a big part of their operations. And so we're constantly working with our clients, our customers over time to make our product better, to help them with the challenges of running a dine-in theater and expanding now into the FEC market. But yeah, one of the biggest challenges has always been how to design the best kitchen for your needs. And as the dine-in market grew and still is expanding, it's still up for discussion. You walk into some kitchens and you're amazed that they can handle, and the throughput can handle, that they can handle the demand on a Friday and Saturday night because of the way the kitchen's designed. And then there's other kitchens you walk in to and you're like, holy cow, this kitchen could service,
1,000 people.
1,000 people simultaneously. And it turns out that, kitchen design is extremely critical. And every time you open a new dine-in cinema, if you have your first location, your second location, your third location, you always try to make certain things better, right? And the kitchen is one of those things. But at the same time, and Michael will tell you this during his session, right? I mean, having the perfectly designed kitchen doesn't mean you're going to have the best food and the best service and the best operations, but being able to leverage people in this industry that actually do know what they're doing is very important. And that's what Proctor and Michael and a bunch of the other vendors that are going to be a part of that session bring to our show is, hey, we trust us. We know what we're doing. We can design a kitchen. We can help you spend the right amount of money, the best amount of money to get the best out of your square footage. Amy said we have a chef as part of his discussion. Cisco is a sponsor. They are doing a big presentation on Thursday that talks about how to use Cisco to be more successful. Don't just tell us you want chicken and salad and whatever and place your order. We have a team of people that can help you build a better menu and can help you make the best use of your dollars when you're buying food and even concession material. So yeah, Cisco has turned out to be a huge addition to our roster this year. And we're looking forward to how they can open up people's eyes a little differently than we've been able to in the past.
Well, that design and logistics seems to be a 1-2 punch when we talk about this sector, not only the dine-in space, but also the FEC space. And on Wednesday, you've also got sessions from JKRP architects on case studies in design and putting some of these builds together. You've got a firm like Creative Works talking about the FEC model, how that applies for cinemas, that I think is super interesting. You've also got some marketing sessions here from our colleagues at the box office company. My colleague Scott Hanlon is going to be talking about SEO.
Yes, and then his wife is going to be following him, talking about effectively marketing movies within your theater. Right. And how to, do you use your employees for TikToks? Do you make balloon garlands or do you subcontract that out? Tracy works for Synergy, so she's going to be bringing in her ideas. And she's also bringing in with her Kristen Wheaton from Alamo Drafthouse. So they're going to tag team up in front for how to do that. And yes, Scott Hanlon's going to be talking about SEO and what your placement is. And is your website and is all your website, but if your website, is it working for you? And the topic he has is, have you Googled yourself?
I would not suggest anyone do that.
You told me the title. I was like, okay, I don't know if I want to Google myself.
On Wednesday, you have a great focus on the gaming part of the entire FEC enterprise, because everybody would do this if it was as simple as buying half a dozen games, sticking them in a corner, but that's how they end up collecting dust and you end up losing money. So that strategy of making sure that you integrate an amusement and entertainment side of things to your cinema is going to be crucial. You've got folks like Redemption Plus talking about redemption rooms. Amusement Products is going to be talking about integrating some of these amusement aspects into movie theaters. And then on the bowling side, Cubica AMF is going to be talking about how bowling can work with movie theaters in the same way that Brunswick, another bowling provider, is going to be talking about that same aspect of bowling in movie theaters, something that you wouldn't traditionally think of, but you're seeing more and more of these bowling integrators all over the place.
Yeah, there's a lot of good options, different options now on the bowling side that don't take up as much space, kind of serve a different purpose than what your traditional bowling alley was. And a lot of cool innovation is being done by both companies to create a very unique environment where it's attractive to companies to kind of want to come in and rent out 10 bowling lanes and have a company party or entertain customers on a regular basis. And so, we do have a good amount of customers that we have now on the Venue Valet side over the years that have adopted very unique layout when it comes to bowling and the arcade to create a cool environment that serves a great purpose for parties and corporate events that complements the theaters that they have as well.
You also have Betson also talking a little bit about the gaming side of things, how to finance that entire operation, because it's not cheap, especially when you're talking about games that have to be repaired, that you have to update. Because if you have the same set of games there for a year, you're probably not going to have a space that people are going to return to.
But in addition to that, I mean, what used to be, I feel like years ago, it was always, the theater philosophy of you just have to get their butts in seats, to watch a movie and then have them, just keep ordering food and whatnot. Whereas I feel like it now has segued more into get them into your building and how long are they going to stay in your building. And yes, one thing that Betson is going to be jumping all over, I'll say, is how to finance and how to make this work for you. And that one thing I did not know, if a game is not working for you, return it. Get one that's working for you. And a game that's going to work in, Wisconsin might not be working as well in Texas. And they want you to succeed. And I would say all gaming companies, they want you to succeed as much as you can, because that just means more revenue for everybody all around. So we have that. We also have a new addition this year, Dan Coppola with Ice Game, and what his company does. He distributes games to Betson and to Schaefer, but he creates them. So his team of architects decides, I was like, quote unquote, decides like what the cool thing is, and what people are going to want to have. And so we're happy to add him in, just as a unique perspective, right? So that theaters can kind of figure out like, okay, this might be something that is worth me jumping into.
And there are other events happening on Wednesday as well. You've got a session here on insurance that our friends over at Safe Park USA are going to be handling. Brandon Jones from Film Frog is going to be talking about marketing those small to mid-range budget movies and how to make sure you get the most out of your alternative content programming. Because, of course, we can't forget about the movies part of the situation.
Right.
I will be there myself talking about movies as well on Wednesday, giving a talk, answering some of the biggest questions that we've been hearing from exhibitors. And if anybody is listening to this right now that's attending the event and you're really curious about something, you want to tap into the network that we have here at Box Office Pro, feel free to submit your questions over at numbers@boxoffice.com for us to answer in that live session that we'll be having on Wednesday morning at the Dine-In Cinema Summit. Later in the afternoon, we have from 4:30 p.m. the CJ Cinema Summit Live, which is a great opportunity to go to the bathroom or maybe catch up with people, have long conversations with lost friends, nice hour break while our colleagues Sperling Reich and Ms. McCullough speak for an hour. Great chance to visit the sites in Austin. Beautiful city that you guys have there. Wednesday, 4:30 to 5:30.
Poor
they'll be stuck. They'll be stuck at Sinopolis Movie House in Eatery. We're gonna lock them in.
And I forgot. Yeah, that Wednesday event is going to be in Austin at the Sinopolis Movie House and Eatery, which is part of a circuit they acquired a couple of years back. I'm excited to check out that as well. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's where they serve the lobster tacos. That's been on my dine-in order list.
What? I'm not sure if they still do the lobster tacos, but they do lobster mac and cheese or lobster grilled cheese. Which is our daughter works there, not at that location, but she works at another movie house. And so, yes, the lobster grilled cheese is very yummy that they have.
They've still got it on the menu. I can't wait. It's one of the more dynamic menus on the dine-in side of the world. And that wraps up, I think, a lot of the focus on Wednesday. And on Thursday, this is going to be such a wonky day, but I'm excited. And I know a lot of your attendees are excited. The number one complaint that I know you guys have heard, and I know I've heard when it comes to cinema operations on the dine-in, and I say this with all love to my advertisers and partners in the point of sale side, everybody always wants a better POS. Everybody. So on Thursday, you're just getting all of them together and you're letting them address those challenges directly to their customers and potential customers.
We're probably going to give IVs to everybody, beforehand.
You got to stay hydrated. Yeah, you got to be hydrated. Going into Thursday. It's that That last day that you mentioned is always tough at any show. But we know from doing this for now our 7th time that the point of sale / tech part of running a cinema is always very well attended by our audience. And they're very opinionated and they're very needy because what they want from a point of sale. And a point of sale doesn't just mean selling tickets or selling food and beverage. It now means complete systems around loyalty and customer preference tracking. Like, what did this person eat last time they were here? And what kind of movies do they like to go see? It is much more than just point of sale, selling tickets or selling food and beverage. And now you add the FEC element where you want to be able to sell game cards so you can go play video games or buy bowling. And all these different systems have to work in an ecosystem together so that the cinema / FEC operators can keep a pulse on their business as the day goes on, right? And make adjustments to payroll and running special coupons in the afternoon if the day is not going well, or if the weather changed or whatever, right? It's so complicated. So yeah, we have this more so now this year than ever. We have a lot of point of sales companies that are sponsoring and or coming to our event. Everybody from Vista and RTS to Toast and GoTab and literally everything in between. We're very lucky to have good participation on the vendor side in this space. And anybody that's been to our show knows this is one of the more interactive sessions where the way that it'll be run will be very much crowd-driven, audience-driven, because we're trying to help solve this problem, which is very, very difficult to solve, and that is building the perfect point of sale / system to help run your business. So it'll be fun. Indie is another sponsor that's going to show up this year. What's that?
Topos.
Yep, Topos is coming.
Oh, we have our friends with Vista there as
Agile,
well.
yep, Vista, Agile ticketing is going to be there. We have a full slate. It'll be a fun, most of that day is dedicated.
On Thursday.
Yeah, it's almost a whole day is dedicated to this kind of concept. So this topic.
And it's one that I think is probably on top of mind right now for exhibitors. The one tech upgrade that I keep on hearing about outside of the auditorium, right? It happens to be with POS. What's the right version and player for you? And there's so many options out there. So all exhibitors interested in either attending the session, don't forget to sign up. There are still spots available for exhibitors. What's the easiest way for movie theater operators to join us in Austin?
They just go to our website at www.dineincinema.com. And there's right at the top of the page is registration, and it will take you through all the things that you need to do to get here. Get on the bus, I will say. Get on the bus on Tuesday morning, come to the parties at night, but get on the bus on Tuesday morning so that you can celebrate. I'm saying celebrate with us because we do have a great time when we're doing this. It's exhausting. It is sensory overload. It's a whole lot of things. But what I always hear at the end of it was they say that was worth it. Like, I'm glad that I came. And so that makes it worth the 11 months of work that goes into putting it together. Just so everybody knows, we do have little breaks and little fun throughout the day. Like, we have a happy hour every night. EDC sponsoring Tuesday. Strong is sponsoring Wednesday. Thursday is sponsored by A&A Redemption. So it's, we have that, and we give you things throughout. Sharp's giving away TVs. We're giving away cowboy boots on Monday night at that first event, courtesy of Apple Industries. So all of the sponsors have, really stepped it up this year to be like, how can we help continuing to make this better? And we're very grateful for that, because all of our sponsorship dollars do go back into the summit. Matt and I, we do our labor here as a contribution to the industry that is our livelihood. And, I would be remiss if I did not mention Spotlight Cinema Networks. They've been our presenting sponsor for many years now, and they're always willing to jump in and help us out. So we're very grateful for them. And really all the other sponsors who have stepped up, to help us out. Theater Toolkit does our app. They're one of our Our technology sponsors, we put ourselves down as a technology sponsor because, we do a little bit of work to get everybody here. And then because we did change this up a little bit, we start at 10 o'clock in the morning so that people, if they want to do morning breakfast meetings, we do feed you on the buses. But if you want to meet with customers, and then on Thursday evening, we end at 6:30. We don't have anything scheduled Thursday evening, because if you want to go take your customers out, or if you want to meet up with a group of people and just go do your own thing and your forced family time is over, then we do that's happening on Thursday night. You do whatever you feel like, or you can go to bed, which there might be some people that will just either get on a plane or go to bed.
In either case, it's going to be a really informative week. That is February 3rd through 7th in Austin, Texas. To register, go to dineincinema.com. Personally, one of my favorite events to attend and one of the most informative. I think there's a lot of events like CinemaCon, which is great in that they show a side of the industry to the public at large, to the B2B press at large. This is a lot more in-house. This is a lot more tools of the trade, operations, all the things that a cinema operator needs to know or wants to know in order to better operate their theaters. Matt and Amy, thank you so much for joining us once again. And a huge thank you to Matt and Amy for joining us on the podcast this week. Earlier, you heard from my colleagues, Pahle and Chad Kennerk. And if you want to keep on hearing from us, don't forget to rate and subscribe, share. Let people know that we're doing this. It's the easiest way that we can continue providing you a podcast every week. On behalf of everyone here on the Box Office Podcast, thank you for listening, and we will talk to you again next week.